Halito, halito to all my brothers and my sisters. How are you doing? Well, I hope and I do expect that you are doing well. This is the Indigenous one, and I have been actually. I need to go ahead and post up this a little higher because I'm not getting any height. I apologize. My camera. Here I'm using my iPad. That might be as good as it's going to get. But if it falls down, I will straighten it up. But I want to come to you today saying peace, love, and greetings to all my brothers and my sisters. I haven't posted a video in a while, and I figured I would go ahead and go live because I had a lot of information, but I know I'm not going to get through all the information that I would like to share. Because I'm still reading, I'm still piecing together. So this is basically a live stream on some of the books that I've been reading. Um, One is Blackbeard. I don't know if that's showing backwards or not. And I also have volumes 1 through 3 on Prince Maximilian's, the North American Journals of Prince Maximilian of Vede. Um, and I'm going to start off with this book. First of all, I appreciate the Texas A&M um, actually providing these books for me. These are outsourced books. I have to return these back. This label has to stay on this book, or it's a fine. Also, it's $1 per day on these books. So you can actually order this book through your local library, and they will actually send it straight to your your local library. I've received books as far as from I'm in the state of Texas, so I've received books from New Jersey, Delaware, Columbus, Georgia, and so forth. So, however they can get that book to you, they will definitely make it happen. I almost didn't get these three, so this is volume 2. I'm going to be reading from volume 1 today. This is 1, and I have 3 over here marked up. And this is 3 right here. So I have my marks, my bookmarks in here. And because it's a load of wealth of information, this one is printed out. Let me see if you can see it. It says September 1833 through August 34. These books are basically like a journal and timeline. They're timeline, so I have all my books and homemade bookmarks that I put together. So actually, I'm going to start with who is Prince Maximilian. Prince Maximilian actually um, came to America, and he basically was um, discovering on his own time and through different uh, providers or sponsors from, I believe he's German, and he came over to America to actually to find different resources that we had here in America indigenous land. As you know, you heard of Christopher Cologne, Christopher Columbus. He has several different pronunciations of his name, and he basically came to America, invaded America, and Queen Isabella actually they sponsored that trip. With the 3 ships that he came over with. So upon arriving to America and finding the indigenous people, the copper colored people, which is us, uh, he he saw the riches that the land had. In the description, it was stated how beautiful the land was, how enriched, how the people greeted him, how friendly we were, um, how generous we were. And we are the people, the copper colored people that he saw here. And, there wasn't a hostility. Actually, they thought that there were some evil people that came upon the land. Um, when when Christopher Columbus came here, he took an account of everything that he saw, and he went back and reported that. So then you have different people that came over to do the journeys, such as Prince Maximilian, and his family has um, kept his ancestors have kept up with Halito, Halito, feathers forever, ever. Feathers up, everyone, feathers up. I love y'all. Um, has kept track, kept a great record of all of his journeys, his discoveries, his writings, his his body of work. And I have to encourage you, if you have children that is in school, history, science, all of these different subjects that our children are engaged in, they have to definitely stay encouraged to go to the library after they're in the classroom. They have to study on their own. You have to teach them so that they will learn, because it's only just a little small, um, it's like a starter kit when you go to school. They start you up, to learn a little bit, but then it's up to you. I hold you responsible to teach your children the truth. Okay? Everything is not going to be presented to you in the schools. Schools cannot teach everything. We have to do our teaching at home. Okay? All right. I'm going to go a little deep, and some of the books, oh gosh, I want to turn this around and show you how it's labeled. With each chapter of the books, it will tell you the different tribes and different areas where Prince Maximilian, was visiting. He'll have his, he has a time dated right here. He'll actually, he has it like a journal. Like this one says, as we walked home, the weather was very warm. Earlier, it rained. So in he keeps you in the know of what he's feeling, what he's seeing, so you can experience it. So as the writer, you're actually reading his personal diary of what he saw and how his perception of America. I brought these two books together because they really do, um, they connect. Because as we know, Blackbeard, we think about the princes, the pirates of the Caribbeans. We think about the movie, the Pirates of the Caribbean. If you ever saw that movie, it's and even in Peter Pan with Disney, how the pirates would steal and take away, riches, gold, silver. Um, so they would do that to profit, and they would split the loot, or they would sell it to make a profit. And this is the same concept. This happened right here in the America, North America. Blackbeard. And eventually he was shot, he was killed. They cut his head off. They cut his head off. And yeah, that was his demise. But He stole. He waited out at sea. He waited out at bay. He was in the Carolinas. He was in Williamsburg, in the Virginias. He was out in the Caribbeans, wherever he can steal from. If there were ships, because they knew what was already here from Prince Maximilian. So whether it was indigenous people that they took, because we know that the slave trade was transatlantic slave trade was told in reverse. So we know that they took our indigenous people from here and they took them to Africa, they took them to England, they took them to different other places, took them to the different places in the Caribbean. Okay, so they traded people, and they would trade our indigenous people for liquor, rum, sugar, whatever resources, or products or whatever they were manufacturing, meats. Because England, had, they had like different meats and different types of products there as well. So they traded off for that. In America, we had rice export. We had in the Carolinas, tobacco from Virginia, and we had lumber and furs from like the northern colonies, and it was like big business for for bales of hay. I mean bales of cotton. So cotton was being baled up and shipped out, and they took along with whatever they want, furs. They took that. And in Prince Maximilian's book, he has a list of every single thing that he discovered. He even has a diary in his book. I'm going to show it to you. So you've got to check out these books. There's a wealth of information. He has a diary of the weather, the temperature. Also in the back of the book, in the general index, it's easy to follow. Anything you could think of. All the trees. He even talks about the trees and the plants in the Poconos. And if you've ever been to the Poconos, it is gorgeous and it is beautiful there. So you just think about the areas where he, found riches within on our land, and they packed that up. They packed that up. They manufacturing, clothing to this day. To this day, based on cotton. Levi jeans, cotton. Cotton, y'all. Came from where? North America. Came from America. And it was picked by our indigenous people. And guess what? It wasn't slaves, because slaves, we know that comes from Slavics. We know who the slaves were. And you can get into researching that. That'll be some homework for you. But my great-great-great-grandfather was a farmer. I researched that. He had land. My family owns land. My indigenous family members own land to this day. Okay? All right? And he was a planter, a farmer, on his own plantation. And that's all plantations are, where they we have produce, corn, potatoes, squash, pumpkins, spinach, all the food that the food that we're eating now, the food that most of us indigenous people do not own any land now and don't have any type of way to even feed our families. We go to where? We either go to HEB, Publix, Walmart, A&P. I don't know. If you're in the South, some people go to Piggly Wiggly. Yuck. Different places you're going to go to the super, or you're going to the farmer's market. Or you may be living off the grid, and you maybe, have a garden of your own. But these are the items that, and the food and the vegetation of life that Prince Maximilian was documenting, all right? Documenting what riches we had in our indigenous land right here in America. And if you're thinking that we're not indigenous, let me feather you up. Let me feather you up. African Americans are not African. We are not. We are indigenous Aboriginal American Indians. We have always been here and we are still here. Because of these items that Prince Maximilian discovered, and, of course, he didn't discover, he came upon them and knew that we had these resources. So, of course, he had to let everyone in Europe know this. And they've made a profit over the years, still doing it to this very day. Blackbeard wanted to get in on the action. Paper genocide. Yes, 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 indeed. I see, yes, paper genocide. And Blackbeard want to get in on a part of it legally. He want to get his cut. So, everybody was, Blackbeard. He was, a rapist, a murderer. They were doing everything cutthroat, just like Christopher Columbus, cutthroat. And have you ever thought, are you putting into your mouth whether they're indigenous or not? Because we do know that when the colonizers came over, they brought their own seeds, and they brought their pigs, they brought horses here as well. But what we had here, do you know how beautiful our land is, how rich we are here? So when you go outside in the great outdoors, you are home. So many people want to be attached with Africa. You are not African, okay? I challenge you to run to an African. They will look at you and they will tell you that you're not African. They're not going to greet you and say, hello, my brother, hello, my sister. They're not going to do that. They are African. And they know that we are indigenous North American Indians. They know that we are Aboriginal of America. They know that. They know that we're already home. Okay? So you're home. So when you walk out that door and you look at the sky, that is your indigenous sky. When you look at the earth, that is they sure don't claim us. Look at your indigenous land, the trees. Take your children out to the park. Take them on a walk, a nature walk. Take them to the mounds to visit every mound. That should be what your vacay should be. Okay? You should know your own land. Take them out and explain to them. It's better than them sitting in a classroom. You have to deprogram your children as well, and deprogram ourselves. You got to take the time by reading, searching, by studying, by absorbing it. And like Brother Buck said, you have to think where your ancestors were, like in the 1800s or 1700s. You have to think what was going on in that time. What were they eating? How were they surviving? Where were they living? You have to bring yourself back. You have to create that scenario, and you have to research that scenario to bring together the pieces of the story. Only you can do that, because that's your family. You can fill in the gap, and it's your responsibility to do that, to know thyself. Feather up. It's time for feathers to be up. Let's list some trees that's familiar with you, that's indigenous. Dogwood, ash tree, maple tree, walnut tree, elm, oak, black maple. How about vines like poison vine, poison ivy? How many times we grow up, we talk about when you go camping with the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, do not touch the poison ivy. But do they tell you it's indigenous? It's indigenous to America. Crab apples, turpentine, tobacco, clover, asparagus, lima beans, snap beans, dwarf beans, um, cabbage, turnips, black radishes and radishes, turnips and potatoes, asparagus, skinny, small, the really small ones. They're not as thick. Spinach, carrots, beets, parsnips, buckwheat, pumpkins, a variety of peas, lettuce, squashes, watermelons. Whoa, 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 watermelons, my brothers and my sisters. How many times have they have our indigenous face with watermelons and grits? Exactly. How many times they have us posted up on a stereotypical photo, us cheesing, biting down into a juicy piece of watermelon. They make it almost like it's shameful. But that's our indigenous fruit. It came from our land. But you see how they twist that and make it look negative? They have us with exaggerated features, with a big smile. Actually, sometimes the smile is as big as the slice of watermelon they cut. But that is our indigenous vegetables right here. How about muskmelons? We call them muscadines in Florida. In Georgia, muscadines. How many of us have eaten the muscadines? See, it's a lot of things that you're eating off of the land, and you're not connecting them. Like, you know, what did I eat when I was younger? What did Grandma cook when we were younger? Did Grandma ever say we were indigenous? My grandmother did. Did she ever say we were African? Mm-mm. No. Has great grandmothers, great great grandfathers, have they ever said that to you? So what makes you think that you are? Who told you that? Yeah, Jesse Jackson. I thought so. Deprogram yourself. African Americans are not African. We are indigenous Americans. Another vegetable. It's so many in this book. So many. And we got 3 volumes. Cantaloupes. We got onions, chives, peaches, cherries, grapes, wild grapes, pecans, walnuts, some indigenous animals, raccoons, muskrats, skunks, turkeys, and the white man still living off of the turkey today, making a profit. How many of us have turkey farms? How many of us are attempting to own a turkey farm? Corn, all colors and all sizes. I mean, the corns don't even have to be fabricated or genetically modified at all. The sun, the rays of the sun changes different, each kernel a different, beautiful, radiant color. How beautiful is that? How beautiful. Right here on our indigenous land, corn. And when I say different textures and sizes, because we have different corn that corn that we eat, corn that we don't eat, that we make out of different grits, or like my mom would say, mush or pablin, or they call it grits to in today's vocabulary. Possums, mallards, rabbits, butter duck, wild geese, fox, wolves, and woodpecker. How many times have we watched Disney or is it Marigold? I don't know which cartoon that, yeah, Sweet Corn, exactly. I hear you, Rainstorm. Thank you. Um, we see Woody Woodpecker represented, on television on Saturday mornings. You get up in the morning, and that was one of my brother's favorite cartoons, was Woody Woodpecker. And here he is, he's beating into into his making himself a little home, making a little barrel, making a hole into the wood, which is an indigenous tree. Probably was a popular tree, and he's indigenous to America, the woodpecker. Um, just like when I think about the song about um, who sings about the poplar tree and body swinging from the poplar tree, and they were hanging indigenous people on a poplar tree, and we had our death, and we died there because of racism and hatred. Okay, and you know um, it's just really really sad, and they're still hanging us and lynching us today. It may not be by a tree, um, which they still are doing that to this very day, but they're killing us in the back, shooting us. Young, old, women, children, men, boys. Our indigenous lives are on a daily basis. So I had to slip that in. Also want to talk about Blackbeard and the dangers that in strange fruits. That's it. That is it. Thank you, because I sure couldn't think of it. I appreciate that. That's right. Strange fruit. I was trying to think of the woman that she was basically a musician, an artist, beautiful soulful voice, and she told stories through her music. And she was quite a bit of a legend of a activist. Um, I wanted to share. Got all my books here. I have America. You could actually get a copy of this from for Forgotten Books. This is Arnaldo's Montanas. So it's a copy. It's a pretty good copy. When you're reading any book, say for instance, this one says, "Now is your time. The African American struggle for freedom." It really should say the Indigenous American struggle for freedom, but they label us as African. We're not. I had saved the page, and I know I lost it because I picked it up right here. Colored men. This is a poster. I'm assuming that they're trying to recruit our indigenous copper colored men to join forces, join the service to fight. And they're going to pay $200. And it says, "Who would be free? Themselves must strike the blow. Now is your time. Remember that every blow you strike at the call of your government against this accused slaveholder rebellion, you break the shackles from the limbs of your kindred and their wives and children." Your kin. How many times, you know, you go to a family reunion, and maybe there's a visitor there and their last name is Jones, and you know you're connected to the Jones, and you say, you know what, we may be kin, we may be related somewhere down the line. So they're asking you to go ahead and join Colored Men of Burlington Company. It's a board of freeholders of Burl. I guess that's what they offer every able-bodied colored man who volunteer to the service of his country a bounty of cash. So that's $10 per month. So it says, come one, come all. And I don't know what state this was done in, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting that we look over words, like my birth certificate states colored, and I know that we're the copper colored people. It's even stated in America, and I read books like James Adair and different other publishings. I also want to share something with you that was really interesting. I went to Florida in November, and I came across this. And what does that look like to you? It's about it's about 2 inches. Yeah, it's about 2 inches. That looks like pre-Clovis, doesn't it? So if you know that pre-Clovis is still here, why wouldn't you think that we're still here? Because we are. You're looking at me in the flesh. We're still here. I didn't finish some of the list. I did say wild geese, fox, prairie dogs, and prairie hen. There's a lot of prairie dogs in Oklahoma. I used to live there, and I didn't even know what they were until I read a little bit about what what a prairie dog was. I just thought it was some type of puppy dog, but it actually uh, looked like a little chipmunk kind of animal, and they real fast, and they dig holes in the ground and tunnels. But let me see what else I got for y'all. I just wanted to just share a photo and just read a little bit from Arnaldo's later, maybe, and then definitely. Okay. Now you see these photos. This is in the North American Journals of Prince Maximilian. This is in volume 1. And like I stated before, he write it as if he's journaling. I'm going to start very short. It's on page 372. I'm like down to at the 4th paragraph. I wish I could flip this over so you can see. The sky mostly overcast, a raw wind. The sun rose higher and warmed us somewhat. The mass of houses rather attractive. The view becomes better and better. We landed and saw mostly blacks on shore. We took lodging at the Union Hotel, where I found a letter from Neuwied, dated the 21st of November. So this is what he saw. He saw on the shore indigenous people. And then also I go to the next side. He talks about how they wore their hair. This tribe, it was I want to say it, the Meskwaki tribe, and he talks about how they that they differ from Brazilians, which we know that Brazilians are um, copper in color as well. And he said that they had coarser features. He also stated that their hair and eyes were black, and their teeth was mostly very white and strong. Their arms not thick, the calves usually thin. He said that they're strong, well-built men, some of them at least 10 inches or 6 inches tall. And most of them have broad faces and sturdy bones and features. So I found that very interesting. He's very thorough in his writings. And sometimes in the books you'll see Negro, you'll see copper colored, you'll see African, you'll see African American, you'll see black, brown, tawny. I mean, they've paper genocide is real, and they have uh, changed and still continually to change and change us through paper genocide to classify and reclassify us as what they want us to be. But you got to know your history, okay? You got to start with that. If you don't know your history, you don't know yourself. And you got to start digging. You got to start digging until you can't dig anymore. You got to start asking questions. While the elders that are still alive now, you need to talk to them, okay? They are valuable. They are beautiful people. They are you, okay? You need to do that. Don't allow anyone to define you and tell you who you are. No one. No one. You are indigenous. No matter what they are. No one else going to do it for you. I'm so glad that y'all watch me, but I just wanted you to read these books that are available at your local libraries, and you can just order them if they're not there. This is vital information. You need to know when you're putting something in your mouth, food that is indigenous to our land. You need to understand the resources of our land, how valuable it is, how rich we are, and why have we fell back so much in this economy? Why haven't we had a growth? It's not that we're not sticking together, people, because we're not owning anything. Things was taken from us. We need to start building our own, owning our own land, having our own schools, our own hospitals and stores. You see, my mind, I never thought. My grandmother, she was an entrepreneur. She owned property. She owned apartments. She housed people. And then my great grandmother, my grandmother on my great grandmother on my father's side in Jacksonville, Florida, owned land, still own land to this very day, where Long Branch School is standing right now in Jacksonville, Florida. That was our land. And they sold part of it to a school. We still own that land to this day. My grandmother, also they owned a store, and she worked for Papa. They work for themselves. They own their own store. People dig into your history. African Americans are not African. Our people work. We're not lazy people. We're entrepreneurs. We're planters. We're farmers. We're nurturers. We're teachers. We're doctors. We're healers. Just because the system has pushed us out and has regulated things into careers now, don't mean that we didn't do it, that it didn't exist, that it didn't happen. I talk to my mother on a regular. She tells me, yes, I was at St. John's River. I grew up there. And also Papa had land. We still have land on the river. Matter of fact, my great-great-grandmother passed away from getting ill, crossing the river so many times. She fell ill. She got sick. I don't know if she got a cold or she got pneumonia. But they had to cross the river to try to get her to help. But she got sick and she passed away. You need to sit down and talk about the stories. What did they eat? What did they farm? What did they grow? What did they plant? See, you have your history right in your hands, but you're not opening your mouth to talk about it. You're so modernized, and you're thinking technology has really dumbed us down, but when we can be using and utilizing it for a better good, for research. And then you can just put down your device sometime and just talk to your family members and write it down. Journal it. Why? Or vlog it so you can leave a legacy behind, so your children and your children's children will know. And your research will not be buried. It's time for our people. Phoenix Moon, I love you. Buck, I love you. Safa, I love you. Dane Calloway, love you. If I'm leaving out some names, it's not done on purposely. But I got much respect for you. I do. For reaching out to our people. I'm still a babe in the woods. But I'm continue. I'm not going to stop until I want to get the message out. But I just wanted to bring those two books to the forefront, because as I sit outside right now and I'm watching the trees blow and sway, I'm looking at a land. I'm looking at some trees that were planted here and replanted, and I'm sure they have Arbor Day, that still is in existence. But I'm looking at the indigenous land, some touched and some untouched. But it's here, just like we are. Come on, people. Feathers up. I'm so glad my brothers and my sisters put that term and that sentence out there, because that's a powerful statement. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I didn't want this to go as long as I have, and but you got to keep on teaching, man. We got to teach our children. We got to do it. I hold you responsible for teaching the word, for teaching the truth, for spreading the knowledge. And don't ever allow anyone to tamper with your truth The truth is in here. Right here. You can't touch that. It's right there. You can't touch that. It's something that I can't even truly explain. I can put everything down in words and I can show you photos. I can even bring you senses and tell you pictures, but I already know who I am. Even before it was told and taught to me, I knew it. But you have, over the years, the reclassification, people calling us African Americans and power to the people and this and that, People change things because they don't want you to know who you are. Don't believe it. Believe what your family and your ancestors have taught you. Believe what you feel because it's real. It's not a lie. The wind speaks to me and tells me that. I know who I am. Know thyself. Don't believe the words I'm saying. Research it for yourself. You got some spare time, research some videos. And then research the books. Read the Book of America by Arnaldo's Montanas. Check out James Adair. Check out the books of Prince Maximilian, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Also, right at the tips of the very fingertips of your hand, you have a phone, you have a device, you have Google Play. There are books there. Look for the Indigenous, Aboriginal American, copper colored. All you have to do is put a couple words and phrases in there, and you will find, seek and you shall find the truth. I challenge you. I challenge you. Feather up. Peace and blessings. Love you. I challenge you. And don't forget to share this video. And whether you like it or not, that's up to you if you want to like it. But you can share this video at any time you like, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks for all my viewers and all my watchers. Peace and love thyself. Feather up.